You have a to-do list that is never actually done. Not because you were behind, because somewhere along the way, you built it to never finish. One item just will not get checked off. Not because it is hard, because some part of you is waiting for the perfect moment to do it right. Here is a man who solved that problem in the strangest way possible. He decided to fail on purpose 5,126 times. And by the end of this video, a Nobel Prize-winning economist is going to explain exactly why that strange choice was the smart one. Because it turns out the thing stopping your list from finishing has a name, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. In the early 1980s, a British engineer named James Dyson was annoyed at his own vacuum cleaner. It kept losing suction, clogged by its own dust bag. He had an idea. Build a vacuum with no bag at all, spinning the dust out with pure force instead. Simple to say, nobody had ever actually made it work. So he built a prototype. It failed. He adjusted one thing and built another. That one failed too, in a slightly different way. He kept going, prototype after prototype, each one a small, deliberate, forgettable failure for year after year after year. By the time he finally had one that worked, he had built 5,126 of them. He numbered every single one. 15 years, most of his own savings, a young family living on very little, betting on a machine that kept losing. If Dyson had waited for the perfect design in his head before he ever touched a tool, he would still be waiting. There was no version 5,127 without the first 5,126 that were wrong. But here's the part that should really bother you. Why would deliberately failing over and over actually be the fast way to get it right? To answer that, rewind to 1956 and an economist named Herbert quietly picking apart how people actually make decisions. The assumption at the time was that a rational person searches for the single best option, weighs everything, and picks the optimal choice. Simon proved that is not what smart, successful people actually do, and more importantly, it is not what they should do. He coined a word for the real strategy, satisficing, a mix of satisfy and suffice. Find an option that is good enough and take it. Chasing the true optimal choice, he showed, costs enormous time and energy searching for a payoff that barely improves on just picking something solid and moving. In 1978, Simon won the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Sciences, largely for this idea. Good enough was not a compromise, it was the smarter math. Dyson never read Simon's paper. He did not need to. He had already discovered the same law by hand, one failed prototype at a time. Waiting for optimal is not discipline. It is a well-disguised way of never finishing at all. Individuals are one thing. What happens when an entire company with a reputation on the line has to make the same choice on a deadline? In the late 1990s, Pixar was deep into a sequel, Toy Story 2, originally planned as a smaller straight-to-video release. About 9 months before it was due in theaters, the director and team screened what they had so far for the studio's leadership. It was not good enough, not close, so Pixar made a decision that should terrify any studio. They threw almost the entire film away and started over. For the next several months, the team worked brutal hours, rebuilding a movie from close to nothing with a release date that refused to move. They were not chasing perfect. They knew that version did not exist yet. They were chasing finished and good on a clock that did not care about their feelings. Toy Story 2 shipped on time. It became one of the best reviewed films of that entire year. The team's own later account of that year is blunt. Their first cut of nearly every film they have ever made has been, in their words, bad. They ship anyway, then fix it in the open. Now stretch this idea past one team to an entire factory floor and a rule that sounds almost backwards. On Toyota's production lines, any single worker at any station can pull a cord and stop the entire line the moment they spot a problem. Think about what that actually costs. Not one machine pausing, the whole line, every worker, everything, halting for one visible flaw. A factory obsessed with a spotless, perfect-looking process would hide that flaw and keep the line moving to protect the schedule. Toyota bet on the opposite. Surface the imperfection immediately, fix it fast, and never let a hidden flaw quietly multiply downstream. Visible imperfection caught early beats invisible imperfection discovered later after it has already ruined thousands of finished cars. The company did not become one of the most productive car makers on Earth by hiding its mistakes. It became that by making mistakes impossible to ignore. So here is where it gets personal and slightly uncomfortable. What is chasing perfect actually costing the people who do it? Researchers studying perfectionism have found something almost unfair. The people with the highest standards for their own work are often the ones who finish the least of it. The proposed reason is simple and a little cruel. A perfect version has no clear finish line, so the brain never gets the signal that says, "This is done, you can rest now." A good enough version had an actual edge. You can see it, cross it, and feel the relief of being done. That relief is not a small thing, it is the entire point. To be fair, this research shows a strong pattern, not an ironclad law for every single person, but the mechanism lines up with everything we have just seen. Dyson was not chasing his 5,127th idea of perfect. Pixar was not protecting an untouchable first draft. Toyota was not hiding its flaws to look clean. Every one of them picked the same unglamorous move. Get something real in front of you, flawed and finished, instead of something perfect and imaginary. Which means that stuck item on your list was never a discipline problem. It is a finish line problem. You gave it no line to cross. You do not need the perfect version in your head. You need a good enough version in front of you that you can actually finish today. Good enough is not you settling. It is a Nobel Prize-winning strategy, one very stubborn engineer, and one animation studio all agreeing on the same thing. Somewhere on your list right now is your own 5,127th prototype, quietly waiting behind a version of perfect that does not exist yet. You do not need to wait for it to feel right. You need to finish it badly if you have to and cross the line. Progress checks a box. Perfection just keeps moving the box further away.